Hello my dear children. So today in this video we are going to discuss about the interstate disparities. As you all know that we have been discussing the chapter poverty. So various things we have discussed, like in our previous video we discussed about the this thing poverty estimates, isn't it? Poverty estimates we discussed about the vulnerable groups we discussed. So today we are going to see about the interstate disparities. Okay, so among the states, okay, so if you have to see the poverty scenario, then among the states within our country only there are so many states. So within that state, so what is the situation like in terms of poverty? Okay, so poverty in India also has another aspect or dimension. So the proportion of poor people is not same in every state. Okay, so you can see that children, like some of the states, like although you can say that state level poverty has witnessed a secular decline from the levels of early 70s. So if you see from the situation, like from the early 70s, like it has declined much, but the success rate of reducing poverty, it varies from state to states. Okay, so like if you say like some of the states like Bihar and Odisha, they are continue to be the poorest states with poverty ratio of 33.7 and 37.6% respectively. So along with the rural poverty, urban poverty is also high in Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. So in comparison to this Odisha, MP, this Madhya Pradesh, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, you can see that there has been a significant decline in poverty in some other states, like example your Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and West Bengal. Okay, so like there are various reasons, okay, why in those states, like why in states like Kerala, West Bengal, there has been a steady decline in poverty. Like for example, if you see the case of a Punjab, so Punjab, like Punjab and Haryana have traditionally succeeded in reducing poverty with the help of the high agriculture growth rate, because they were the states which have introduced they have implemented the green revolution. At first they have introduced the use of the, they have used the HYV seeds. So because of that also, like it might be one of the reason, like the states are in these states the poverty is declining. So Kerala has focused more on the human resource development. In West Bengal, land reform measures have helped in reducing poverty. So land reform measure means the changes in the ownership of land holding, isn't it? Previously, like the farmers, those who were not having lands, according to land reform policy, they were given the land by the government. Okay, so various changes were then in the land land holding pattern. So because of that also in West Bengal, that West Bengal was able to reduce poverty. In Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, PDS, public distribution of food grains, could have been responsible for the improvement. So you know about the PDS system, isn't it? So because of that, so the states where you can see that there is a decline in poverty, so those states have adopted some of the measures. So because of that reason also there is a decline in the poverty. And if you see the global poverty scenarios, the situation globally also like that. Some of the countries, they have declined the poverty, but some of the countries still they are facing with this poverty scenario. Okay, so globally also you can see the situations like this. Okay, so some of this, if you see this graph from there, sorry. Okay, so if you see this graph, children, globally, if you see this graph, so from there you can understand graph 3.3, like share of people. Okay, so country wise you can see the how the poverty has declined. So you can see this graph also, number of poor. The upper one is this is the share of people living this thing, and another is the number of people by region. So you can refer this graph to know about the global poverty scenario. Okay, so now next thing we are going to discuss is the causes of poverty. So what is causing this poverty? So there were a number of causes for the widespread poverty in India. So one historical reason is the low level of economic development during the British rule. So as you all know that when India was under the British rule, the economic development was very low. So because of that, like their colonial administration has because of that colonial administration, it has caused for the widespread poverty in India. The policies of the colonial government. So colonial colonial government means there will be two countries when one country will dominate over the another country. Okay, so colonial government ruled traditional handicraft industry. So the Britishers, they decline our handicraft industry and discourage the development of industry in our country. So the low growth rate persisted until the 1980s. So the resulted in so because of this resulted in the less job opportunities and obviously low growth rate of income. So this was accompanied by a high growth rate of population. So the two combined to make the growth rate of per capita income very low. The failure at both in front, the promotion of economic growth and population control, perpetuate the cycle of poverty. So because of this reason, the failure of economic growth as well as the rise in the population concentration lead to the it gave trigger to the cycle of poverty. It became more intense. Okay, so with the spread of irrigation and the green revolution, many job opportunities were created in the agriculture sector. So we have already discussed, like with this the spread of irrigation system facility and the spread of the green revolution policy which was started, so it has created more job opportunities in the agriculture sector. But the effects were limited to only some part of India. So we have discussed that green revolution could be adopted only in those states where there is a proper water facility, irrigation for Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh. Those were the states which have adopted the green revolution. So the industries both in public and the private sector did not provide some job. Okay, but these were not enough to absorb all the job seekers. So unable to find proper jobs in the cities, many people started working as the rickshaw pullers, vendors, construction workers, domestic servant, etc. So with irregular small income, these people could not afford expensive housing. So they started living in the slums, okay, on the outskirts of the cities, and the problem of poverty, largely a rural phenomena, also became the features of urban phenomena. So previously it was the rural phenomena, but people were shifting from rural to urban. There was a migration and urban became crowded. So because of that problem went to the urban area also. Another feature of the high poverty rates has been the huge income inequalities. Okay, so there is a unequal income distribution. So one of the reasons for this is the unequal distribution of land and other resources. So despite many policies, we have not able to tackle the issue in a meaningful manner. So major policy initiative like land reform, so the West Bengal has started the changing in the ownership of land holding, which aimed at redistribution of assets in rural area, have not been implemented. The policy claimed but that policy was not implemented properly. Okay, so by most of the state government. So since lack of land resources has been one of the major causes of poverty in India. So land resource, people were not having land, if you see in the rural area. So then the proper implementation of policy, since the lack of resources has been one of the major causes of poverty in India, proper implementation of policy could have improved the life of millions. So the policy was not implemented properly. Okay, so many other, if you see, this is one factor. So if you see other factor, like many other socio-cultural and economic factors are also responsible for poverty. So in order to fulfill social obligation and observe religious ceremonies, people in India, including the very poor, spend a lot of money. Small farmers need money to buy agriculture inputs like seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Since poor people hardly have any savings, they borrow. Unable to repay because of poverty, they become victim of indebtedness. So the high level of indebtedness is both the cause and effect of poverty. So you can see that there are all the socio-cultural aspect also, where people in order to fulfill the social obligations, and they have to observe the various ceremonies, marriages, and various other things. People in India, including the fewer people, spend a lot of money in that, isn't it? Because that are the social obligation that has to be fulfilled. So because of that also the poverty is still prevalent. Okay, some farmers, like, they need money to buy agriculture inputs like seeds, fertilizer, pesticide, because since they are poor, they hardly have any savings. Then they borrow, and since they are borrowing from the informal sources, so what is happening, that the big money lenders, traders, they are exploiting the farmers. Proper records are not being maintained. So what happen is, like, unable to repay because of poverty, they become the victim of indebtedness. They will be in a debt trapped, isn't it? Debt trap situation. So it is to overcome from the debt trap situation, it is very difficult for the people. So the high level of indebtedness, isn't it, in the debt trap situation is both the cause as well as the effect of the poverty, you can call it. This is the high level of high level of indebtedness, you can call it. It is both a cause as well as the effect of the poverty. Okay, so we have gone through the various causes of poverty, like there is a numerous causes of poverty are there, isn't it, children? If you see, like, there are number of causes, like if you see there is the one important causes you can see is the because of the Britishers rule, isn't it? So like when India was under the British rule, so like the condition, economic growth was very poor at that time, isn't it? So the Britishers, like, they were like exploited India on a various ground, isn't it, children? So like they have declined the handicraft industry. So but one thing is, like, before the Britishers came to India, in the India there was a flourishing industrial sectors, isn't it? Flourishing industrial sector, we were having the handicraft industry was there, but they declined it. Okay, so they declined it. So you can see that there is a various causes of poverty, like low level. First is the low level of economic development under the British rule, that is one cause. Another is the decline of the traditional handicraft industry, the handicraft industry, the handloom, textile industry that was there in the India, that was declined. So because of that, many people became unemployed. Okay, so that unemployment causes to the poverty scenario. Another causes you can see is the unequal and irregular success of Green Revolution. That Green Revolution policy that was introduced, that was very unequal, and income was in that only some states could implement it. Another is the industries providing inadequate jobs. So industries, the industries that public sector industry, private sector, they are providing not enough job, inadequate job. Another is that there is a huge income inequalities is there. Another is the borrowing by the poor. Okay, so the borrowing by the poor leading them to the indebtedness. So that is the another causes of poverty. So these are the various causes of poverty.